Shalom, everyone. Good evening. Give me a few minutes. Let me get these papers organized on what I'm about to discuss with y'all this evening. Ooh, see what I got going on here. Okay, this one will put it. Let me put this here. I think I'm about straight now. Okay. Shalom. Good evening to the bride of the Messiah, to the 144,000, and to the nation of Israel. As you see in the title, I'm following back up with you about my dream, because now I begin to understand what the Father showed me. It started the week before this week that is ending. It was on a Friday, and he gave me two dreams on Friday in the latter part of the night when it's about transitioning to morning. Then he sent me one of his creations, and that creation stayed at my home for about 2 days. And then he gave me a dream, I believe, on Tuesday. So let me follow up with you on that part. And the second part in this video will be dealing with the sealed book of Mormon, and also with the other sacred books that I've been sharing with y'all on YouTube. Okay, trying to get organized so I know where to start and where to begin. So the dream I had in that video, I gave you the dream I had on Tuesday, but I didn't give you the dream I had on Friday because at that time I felt it was personally for me, and now I understand what the Father was telling me, because when you read the sealed book of Mormon, and you will have access to that book, click on the video description box, and I found the PDF version, because now when you go on Amazon, it is not available. I'm telling y'all, Satan and his children are busy. And the reason why you want to read the sealed book of Mormon, because I'm going to share with you what is written, some things that's written in that book. But what the book announces is dealing with Daniel's chapter 12. There is a portion of the Father's mysteries and word that has been sealed for certain points of time. And for this one, this is the second one. There is another one, but the third one will not come until the Messiah comes to be with his church. Okay, so that one will be saved as is prophesied in Revelation chapter 10. Like I said, that's the appointed time where the mysteries of God will be revealed. But right now, at this time, because we're in the fullness of times, we are in the last days, and we're in the time where the fullness of the Gentiles are at hand now. This is the seal you want to read, okay? And it's going to tear down a lot of false, not only doctrines, but it's going to transform you, and you're going to begin to understand what the Father truly wants from you, what the Father and the Son wants from you. But first, let me begin with my dream. To summarize my dream on Friday, it was two parts. This dream occurred about 2 weeks ago on a Friday. In the first part of the dream, I saw the people that I fellowship with from time to time dealing with the Most High Holy Days. And in the dream, for what I can remember, I was either bringing forth, I can't say I was laying hands, but through me, I was causing some of them to speak, I believe, in tongues. Okay. And I saw one of the members' faces very well, and I think I even saw the pastor. However, they took what I was doing as a form of witchcraft. All right. And with that particular dream, I didn't get that, that good feeling. Okay. So he gave me another dream because, after I had that dream, I said, Father, you're going to have to give me understanding of that. What did that mean? So right after that dream, I go back to sleep, and I remember seeing darkness, and certainly all of a sudden out of nowhere, a bright light appeared. Okay. So he was letting me know the dream I had first did come from him, and it is of good, not of bad. And I understand why he gave that dream unto me. So then he sent me one of his creations, okay, unto me, that came to my home and stayed at my home for about 2 days. Came on Saturday and stayed Sunday. And if I remember correctly, I didn't see him on Monday. Man called this a small one-eyed sphinx moth, or a hawk moth, HAWK. Okay. And then I told you about my dream I had on Tuesday dealing with the numbers 1, 8, and 85. Now, recently we talked about the fourth new moon, and I explained to you why I named the fourth month Delet, which is very important because when you go in all these sacred books, I'm talking about any sacred book, it leads back to one, the promised seed, the promised descendant. And to understand what would take place with you, to understand what the Messiah was saying unto us in the gospel. What's the word I'm looking for? In order for you to receive the kingdom of heaven, a change have to take place. And he is the door, the path, the way of life. Trying to remember the other words on the meaning of the let, because the let also represents tent. When you understand who is the Messiah and his purpose, and through all these sacred books, they talk about him. I'm telling you, all our forefathers, Adam, all of them talked about him. Even in the days of Moses, he was the tabernacle witness. I mean, when you understand him, then you will understand why he is the second Adam, and why and the example he set that would take place with the bride in the 144. This is why I often say that he's taken us back to the status of Adam, to the beginning of what the Creator made us to be before the fall came. All right. So looking at my dream and what this moth represent, once you can enter through the door, which is means receiving the Messiah, receiving the salvation of God. Once you receive him, then the rebirth, the regeneration, being born again. I wrote the names. There's a lot of different words. Being transformed, translated, transfigured can take place. But you have to be able to enter through the door. Okay? Delet, which is the fourth month. The fourth month is now speaking volumes. And in the fourth month, we have went over why the daily sacrifice was ceased and what took the place of that. Again, these books I'm about to go in now, we'll discuss all of that. Then we also learned there would be a famine in the earth. And we know that famine not only represents something carnal, because we know the Most High is going to bring great plagues upon the earth. But the famine that he's talking about is the famine of the word, which is the truth, his truth. They won't be able to find it. They'll seek for it, but can't find it, because he's going to turn them over to the great deception, which is prophesied in the book of Thessalonians. Okay. So when I saw this creation, that's what it represents. When you read about them, the change that must take place. You see how beautiful the Most High creation is. Well, what we would change to, y'all, we're going to be magnificent. We're going to be in his glory, the way that he created us to be since the beginning of time. Okay. Now for the numbers, because I had understanding about 1 and 8, going from a beginning to a new beginning. Okay? Because when you read all the prophecies of the prophets, and when you begin to understand the beginning, then you will understand what the end shall bring forth, which is the new beginning. Okay? And I'm going to look at, I thank everybody for helping me out with 85. But I'm going to start with my sister, and I believe she pronounced her name as Anaya. I want to thank you. For she gave me the meaning of 85, and you probably want to get your pencil and paper and write this out. And shalom, everyone who just came on, and no, you're not interrupting. Okay, shalom. She says unto me, with these numbers that I dream about was 1, 8, and 85. She said, oneness is new beginnings. New beginnings in the law, together, separate, and complete. Now, when I hear what she's saying, when I'm not here, but when I read what she's saying to me, y'all, it's reminded of everything that I have been preaching to you from the book of Mary Magdalene. Okay, this book here. I'm sorry for the light. I'm going to try to turn it where the light's not showing on it. Okay, because in this book, it talks about how we would become complete, how we would become one. Okay, and it has a lot of great mysteries. And it relates a lot to the book of John. It gives you more great understanding of what John was talking about in his books. Okay, so new beginnings in the law, because like I said, we have to understand the law. In the English tongue, the word law is a very broad word, very broad. But when you understand the beginning of things, like what's done in heaven and what's done in earth, there are laws. There are instructions that the Father giveth us unto us to follow. Even the angels must follow these instructions too. So we will have a new beginning in his law. And that's what the Book of Mormon is going to go deep on. It talks about this new beginning that is to come. Okay. I'm sorry for the light. I'm going to try to bring it like that. It's going to expound more on that new beginning. It's going to expound more on us of how we become separate. Okay. On that. So I want to thank you, my sister. Also, others have sent this to me, and this is what I found on Google. And the reason why I reach out to y'all, because sometimes I feel that Google is not giving me what the Father thoughts are or what the Father say. So this is why I reach out unto y'all to get the understanding of 85. Okay. 85 represent, I'm going to use one word for right now, rebirth. Rebirth. Okay. It has been there in us all along since the beginning of time. But because of the fall, it had to be revived. It had to be awakened. All right. That's what my dream was showing me, from going from darkness, and then the bright light appeared. All right. What's been in us, the hidden treasure. Okay. We are the earth, and the treasure has been buried in us. And it's time for it to be awakened. And when you understand who you truly are, whether you are Israelite or Gentile, then Satan can have no power over you. These are the things that he has hidden because he don't want you to know the truth. Okay, so looking at 85 again, these were some interesting things that I found out about 85. Let me make sure I look at this right. We know the sum of 85 can be the number of 13, which represent the number of change. Okay. And I also think about my father Jacob, because did he not have 13 children? Don't forget about Dinah, who was the twin to, I think, Zebulon, if I'm correct. Also, it means the continuous cycle of death and rebirth. And to understand that, you're going to have to read Romans chapter 6. Like I said, in the upcoming videos, we're going to take our time, because I can't put everything in one video. It's going to be too long, to understand how we die and how we are rebirth. That means come back to life. Okay. There's a change that must take place with you in order for you to inherit the kingdom of heaven. Okay. Then looking at the destined with the number 8, that's what it's saying. The considered cycle of death and rebirth. Then the number 5 is dealing with the 5th element, which is spirit, which is very important. And I'm going to go ahead and say it now. It goes back to the biblical prophecy when you look at the makeup of Adam. And the high priest Ezra talks about the makeup of Adam. And I want you to read. I think it's second Ezra, either chapter 16 or chapter 15. But when you understand who Adam is and why he is the Son of God, what makes him the Son of God, then you will understand why 5 represents spirit. And through that spirit, that was give us life. Okay? That was bring us from death, from darkness, that light, that hidden treasure in us. Okay? So this is why it was written in Genesis chapter 6. He said, my spirit shall not always strive with man for his flesh, because of the change that took place in our foreparents, who is Adam and Eve. Okay? So when that change took place with them through their through their seed, their progeny, they lost the spirit. And when you read the book, the sealed book of Mormon, he gives you a deeper history of how that came to be. Because what was done back then, y'all, it's being done again. Okay? But now it's throughout the whole world. So that was another thing. So let me bring this up. I don't know if you can see that, because unfortunately, I don't know how to use the live themes to show other tabs so you can see that information. Okay? But this is something you can Google. Okay? And this is dealing with, I think they call this geometry, if I said it correctly. If I didn't, forgive me. Let me see what else. Oh, this is the part with geometry. Okay, let me see. I'm going to read a part that deal with 85 that pertain to gematria. The numerical value of Hebrew word mal meaning circumcision, and gbigh meaning chalice, give each one 85. So that's what it means in the geometric. That's something you can look up. Right now, I cannot elaborate on that part for right now. But another interesting thing that y'all sent unto me, when we look at the Hebrew Strong Concordance 85, and when you find out what H0085, and I'm going to type it here, it goes to the name Abraham. Now, let me tell you why this caught my attention, because it still relates to the rebirth. And I will have you open your Bibles because I have to give you the verses, okay? So you can understand Abraham and why 85 is associated to his name in the Strong Concordance, okay? Let me see. Let me finish typing this part here. Okay. It says here in the Strong Concordance, Abraham, father of multitude, or chief of multitude, that's right, he's the leader. He's one of the, he makes up one of the 22 heads that the Father set over for each generation, starting from Adam all the way to Jacob. Also, the number 22 represent the numbers of the Hebrew letters. We have a total of 22 Hebrew letters. And then when you also read in the book of Jubilees, you will learn that the Father made 22 kinds of creation when he was working. Like I said, he speaks in so many volumes, numbers, letters, heavens, earth, etc. Now it goes on to say that Abraham is a friend of God and founder of Hebrew nations, via God's elected covenant. Now, what I want you to focus on is we know he is a friend of God. And again, it's going back to 85. We know 5 represents spirit. So those who have the 1611 Bible, I'm going to start with the Messiah first because in the other book I will go in, we have a lot of naysayers. And you will learn through the book of the seal book of Malachi that is to be released in this season now. It warned us for those who limit themselves from these sacred books. That's not good. He put these sacred books for you, Israel and Gentiles, to read in these last days. Because it is time for you to know the whole truth of all, okay? Of how things were supposed to be. But because of Satan planting these snares before us, we couldn't get there. All right. And we know now the end is approaching. And now the Messiah is sending out his angels, his servants to work hard in the vineyard more than ever before because the end is approaching. And those who don't produce good fruits, who are bitter, they're going to be cut off and burned. This is the season we're in now. So the Messiah, through his chosen ones, is working very hard now to bring the fold in, because this is the time that we're in. So we're gonna go to the gospel, and I know it's in the book of Luke. And just bear with me, y'all, because like I said, I didn't prepare anything. I just came up here as is, but we're gonna flow how the Spirit have us to flow, and I have to find it. So give me a second, y'all. Just bear with me. I may have to go. Let me go to my other notes because y'all write notes everywhere, so I can remember where to find stuff. Okay, here we go. Okay, we're gonna go to the book of Luke, chapter 11, and thank you, Father, for reminding me how I organize my notes. Because y'all mean hard. I'm getting older now. I don't remember things like I used to, but I do remember how I organize my information so I can find it. All right, I want us to go to Luke chapter 11, and we see where we're going to start at. All right, so I'm going to have to go to the Apocrypha first for you to understand Luke chapter 11. Okay, I'm going to have to. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to have to. I'm sorry, y'all. Like I said, I didn't prepare this. This is not going to be organized, but we're going to get through it. For those who have access to the King James 1611 Bible, I want you to go to the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7. And I want you, and we're going to start with verse 24 to get to verse, let's see here. We're going to stop to verse 28. However, I do recommend that you read the whole chapter because it's dealing with one of those mysteries that the Pharisees and Sadducees and Herodians today is going to reject. Okay. Again, this comes from the teaching of the Spirit, not the teaching of man. All right. Wisdom of Solomon. And those who don't have the Bible, you can go online and go to King James Bible Online.org, select the 1611 version, and you can get the Apocrypha from there. Or you can scroll down to the Apocrypha in the modern English version and pull it that way, and that is free unto you. Okay? Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7, starting at verse 24. For wisdom is more moving than any motion, She passeth and goeth through all things by reason of her pureness. For she is the breath of the power of God, and a pure influence flowing from the glory of the Almighty. Therefore can no undefiled thing fall in her. For she is the brightness of the everlasting light, the unspotted mirror of the power of God, and the image of his goodness. So she can do what the Father can do. Okay? Verse 27. And being but one, she can do all things, and remaining in herself, she maketh all things new. And in all ages enter into holy souls, she making them friends of God and prophets. And that's the verse I want you to highlight. I'm going to say this again. In all ages, whether you are young or old, she enter into holy souls, and she maketh them friends of God and prophets. Hallelujah. For God loveth none but him that dwelleth with wisdom. So now you begin to understand why our father Abraham is a friend of God, because when you read about Abraham's life and his walk with the Father, he was wise. And the reason why he was wise, because the mother, the spirit of wisdom, was upon him. This is why the Messiah said in the gospel that wisdom shall be justified by her children. So when we go to the book of Luke, chapter 11, we begin to understand why we can prophesy. Okay. So I'm going to start with let me see, verse 47, and I'm going to read down. Okay. Book of Luke, chapter 11, verse 47. Woe unto you, for ye build the sepulchres of the prophets, and your fathers killed them. When you read the history of my people, even back up to the days of Adam, y'all, I'm telling y'all, when the prophets came out to give the Father message or word, they were killed. All right? Because of his spirit dwelling in them. Let us keep reading. Verse 48. Truly ye bear witness that ye allow the deeds of your fathers, for they indeed killed them, and ye build their sepulchres. Therefore also saith the wisdom of God. Do you see how the spirit of wisdom spoke through the Messiah? Because when you read the translation in Matthew, you will see him speaking. But in the book of Luke, it's letting you know that the spirit of wisdom is speaking through the Messiah, because when you read about his birth and his coming of age, it said what? Wisdom was upon him. Remember, he represents the Godhead. Okay? He had his Father's spirit upon him, and he was a spirit clothed in the flesh and blood of David descendant. And he had the Ruach HaKodesh, who is the spirit of wisdom. She is also known as the 7 eyes and 7 spirits of Yah. And to find out more about her, you can read Ben Sirah, which is the son of Sirah, known as Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha. And you can read the wisdom of Solomon in the Apocrypha. But David and King Solomon touched on some of her in their books, such as the book of Psalms and the book of Proverbs. Like I said, here, there, and little there, but you begin to see the whole picture. Therefore also saying the wisdom of God, I would send them prophets and apostles, and some of them they shall slay and persecute, that the blood of all prophets, which was shed from the foundation of this world, may be required of this generation. So every prophet that was killed since the beginning of time will fall on that generation during the days when the Messiah was preaching the gospel. Okay? Verse 51. From the blood of Abel unto the blood of Zacharias, which perished between the altar and the temple. Verily I say unto you, it shall be required of this generation. Okay? And I'm going to stop there at 51. And again, go back to these chapters and read the whole chapter. But now you begin to see they have to pay for the blood of the prophets and the servants of the Most High Yah that they spilled. But going back to 85, now I begin to understand why 85 represent Abraham, for he was the friend of God, for his spirit was upon Abraham. All right. I'll see if I need to elaborate any more on my dream with 1-8 or 85. So what the Father was basically taking me, he was letting me know with the gifts that he has bestowed upon me come from him. The tongue that I speak is the unknown tongue, y'all. It is not a language that can be identified on this earth. So he's letting me know it is not a witchcraft. It is of him. He's also letting me know that there will be a change taking place. There will be a rebirth, a transformation. And for us now to understand about this rebirth and transformation, we read a lot of it in, let me see, can I find this book again? We read a lot of it in the Beloved Companion, okay? But now it's time for us to go into the Sealed Book of Mormon, okay? This book here. It is time for us to go in this now, because there was parts that was not given in the days of the generations before us concerning the church of the Messiah. And this go back to the beginning of the sons of Adam. Okay, let's go back to the beginning. So let me see where to start first. So I did read, I believe in my heart, I read the entire book. It's like, let me see, I think it's like 4 books within this sealed book. Okay, let me put this somewhere. Hold on, y'all. Trying to stay a little bit organized. Whew. Oh, thank you, Father, for reminding me before I go in the Book of Mormon. Also, in the video description box, please click on Yahuwah prophetic messages for these 2. Everything that I'm telling y'all now is connected. It will also touch on what is written in those sacred books. These are instructions for us to follow. You can print out his prophetic messages, which I highly recommend that you do. Also, there was a sister on the channel who shared me her prophetic poem. That prophetic poem I played in the 4th new moon report, known as the left is the month of the 4th new moon. Click on that so you can see what prophetic poem that the Most High has given to her, for it relates again to my dreams, to those numbers, and to what we're about to go into now tonight. Okay, we can put that to the side. All right, trying to get a little bit organized here, y'all. All right, we're looking at the Sealed Book of Mormon. In the video description box, I had put the PDF link. Now, with one PDF link, you get, from what I saw, it was all of the books. But in the second PDF link, I think I might be missing a chapter, okay, of the Sealed Book of Mormon. But the problem with the second PDF link, it only gives you 15 pages. So I can't compare the pages to see if that chapter was combined with another chapter. Okay, so that's the problem with that. All right. Also, I put the Amazon link so you can see now For some reason, this book is not available. Okay. And what we're about to go on in the Sealed Book of Mormon, you begin to understand why. Okay. All right. Let me start the part with the prophecy about this seal and when it will be released, so you can understand of the times that we are in and how close it is. Okay. All right, I'm going to start reading from here. Now, the part that I'm reading from is from the preference. And I do highlight, I do recommend that y'all read everything. Read the forward, the preference, and also read the testimony of the 3 witnesses and the testimony of the 8 witnesses. Now, Israelites, I'm asking y'all, this book, you're going to have to read from beginning to end. He has parts spread out through all these chapters. So you can't run with a part. You need to read this whole thing from beginning to end. And to help you go through this book, y'all, I also put the audio so you can have to read along. But even with the audio, what I did find, there is a paragraph or several paragraphs that can be skipped. So this is why I recommend to y'all, when y'all read the Most High sacred books, it's always good to follow along, because if you can hear it and see it, you can learn and understand what the Spirit is telling you. Okay? All right, let's begin. So we can understand about this seal portion. I know a lot of y'all might be thinking about this one here, okay? But this is talking about something a little different, okay? For it says here, the scriptures cite at least 2 passages that mention the seal portion of the plates of the Book of Mormon, which together claim that the seal portion will be open in 2 periods of time different from one another. Okay. Now, when you read a book, you're gonna learn that there are actually 3 parts. We're now in the second part, but the third part is going to be saved until the Messiah comes to be with his church that he's going to establish here on the earth. Okay. And then we begin to understand why this second part is being released now. For it goes on to say, the first refers to a rebellious and obstinate people who honor the Lord with their lips, but who turn their hearts away from him because of the precepts of man. Okay? And we can see that evident today. Because one of the things that this book talks about, it talks about the 2 sacred signs that the church of the Messiah must keep. And that's dealing with the Sabbath day and the new moon day. See, now people's hearts is going to be tested now. Okay? And that book even go on to further to say what we must do on these days to tap into the power that Satan has kept from us from doing. Yeah. Because again, I'm going to use this for example. With the assembly of people that I would fellowship from time to time, they had the understanding of the keeping of the Most High holy days and his holy feast days. All right. But they didn't honor the new moon days. I thought that was strange. How can you keep one part and not another part? You see what I'm saying? But when you read the sealed book of Mormon, it elaborates why. And it goes in hand with a lot of the prophecies of the prophet Isaiah to give you further understanding why and how we keep the new moon and the Sabbath day. And it all starts in this heart. When I say, yeah, the heart. And when I talk about the heart, this heart, y'all, weighs so heavily. And it makes, this book explains and defines the heart so well so you can understand what our Father and what the Messiah in heaven is looking for. Okay. They are looking for a pure people, whether you're Israelite or Gentile, that have a heart for them, that takes a delight in all of what they tell us, from his commandments to the keeping of his holy days. Okay. It is the same thing that had kept my people from gaining the greater priesthood. Yeah, he talks about this priesthood, the priesthood of the Melchizedek that the Enochians kept. All right. And it breaks it down further of the order of the Enochian and how we are, and how the church of today was supposed to follow that, which they're not doing now. They have went left because they have been contaminated by the precepts of man. Oh, y'all, it's very deep. It's real deep. Okay. So now we begin to understand why this part had to come later. Because when you begin to read the book, and especially because you got several examples, in the days of the sons of Adam, but also in the days of the Israelites, the thing that kept them was their heart. I know I said that before, but read Deuteronomy 5. He talks about that heart of the Israelites. And because of their heart, this is why they did not receive the greater priesthood. They received the lesser priesthood that was bestowed upon the tribe of Levi. Okay, let's keep reading. It goes on to say this, and that these rebellious and obstinate people would be the people of Zion in the last days. For how much they boast that all is well in Zion and deny these new scriptures. Now, since this has been out, y'all, everything that this thing has prophesied, it prophesied that there will be those who will reject this. Okay? And when they reject this, even the knowledge that they had attained from the books that they feel that is ordained from the Most High Yah, their knowledge going to now be soon restricted to nothing. Nothing. And now, when I look back, now I begin to understand why the Father has given me the words to say, those that want more shall receive more now. Those who want less, you're going to get less or nothing. And I'll use this for example. If you only want to stay in the 66 books, you have now restricted yourself. Because now we begin to understand there was some sacred things that was kept for the appointed time, because the Most High was saving it for a people that would have a heart for him now. So remember, everything's done at a certain season and a certain time with the Most High, y'all. He knows what he's doing, y'all. And like I said, if you've been in this Bible like I had in and out, which is the King James 6:11, I can understand why the Father had to do what he did. These folks had a hardened heart, y'all. They couldn't graduate. They couldn't get it. So he had to wait for the right generation to come along where Satan will not have a influence over them. Okay. Let me go and read to this part. And it is to this rebellious and obstinate people that God intends to remind you for the second time of the covenants he made with his people in the opening of the fullness of times in the early days of restoration. Remember, I said unto y'all there are going to be different gatherings. Okay. We know the bride and the 144 will be redeemed. Okay. Because they got it. That's the church that he's talking about, the church of faith. All right. However, for the nation of Israel, remember Romans 11, he said, well, I'm going to have mercy on the nation of Israel. Remember, they're not born of the water, born of the Spirit. Therefore, he's going to have to bring them in the wilderness. Okay, he talks about this wilderness, y'all. And he's going to have to circumcise their hearts and give them a new spirit in order for them to receive the new instructions, the mysteries that has been preserved for that time. Okay. We're going to read this part. After translating the part that concerns you, the translator of the sealed portion will seal the plate again unto the Lord. That's that third part I'm telling you about. It is saved for the time of when the people will be ready to receive the mysteries of God, ready to receive his new commandments. Okay. Now, like I said, it's nothing new beneath the sun, but it goes back to how the Enochian follow the true way, the true order, or how the church was supposed to be established, the church of the Messiah. Okay, this is why I say when you look at the word elect, it started with the door, it started with the Holy One, and when you look, they was not ready to receive the Messiah. That was their problem. This is why certain ones was taken, gathered to the heavens. Like I said, this book going some deep stuff, really deep stuff. And there are 3 that's in the earth that will not see death until the fullness of these times and the coming of the Messiah. And I hope I can find that paragraph for y'all, because I thought that was amazing. They are left here out of the 12 dealing with the northern kingdom. Okay. They are left here to continue the ministry and the work of the Most High Yah. Like I told you, the Father is doing some amazing things. All right. But let us keep reading. It says here, the second part, on the other hand, refers to a future time when the people of the covenant are pure in heart and exercise the same faith as the brother of Jared. Okay. Again, it would give you the history of how things were in the beginning, or in the days of the son of Adam. And then it would show you of the change that had taken place and why we have these books that are sealed and why they are open at certain times. So now we're in the second part. So you know what that means. If we're in the second part now, y'all, we are more closer than ever before. The end is right at hand. That's how serious it is. Okay. Bear with me because I got to find y'all some other stuff. Oh, let me read this other last part. Okay. It says here, the second part also refers to Yahushua, the Messiah himself, as the one who is to reveal the things that the brother of Jared saw to a poor people in the final part of the fullness of time. The sealed book of Mormon therefore appear in these last days according to revealed prophecy, both in the Bible and in the book of Mormon. Okay. Now I want to talk a little bit about the one who translated this. Now, I was talking with one of my sisters about this one that was prophesied unto Joseph, the son of Jacob. Yes, there was a prophecy given to him. There would be 2 that would come from his lineage. One would be like Moses, but he would not speak well because of his tongue. And the other would be like Aaron. And I thank the Most High Yah that I read, well, in other words, that I went through all these books together, because what I learned to understand the characteristics of this one that would be like Moses in our time is spread it out, y'all. It's not in all one book. Okay. So when I read that prophecy, I said, well, we got to find him, who he is. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that this is the one, but he matches it, because let me tell you what I found today as I was finishing up the book. Let me go to this here. You find them pages, y'all. Bear with me because I had stuff organized. I was writing down notes, taking notes. Let me see. That is the one. Oh, and I meant to share with y'all to print out these books. Okay. If you have a printer, you can print it out that way. It's for the PDF version that I have, it's 156 pages. If you don't have a printer to print it out, you can download the PDF on a stick okay? Or you may can put it to your email account and go to a place like Staples or any other courier place and have it printed out for you and bind it for you, okay? All right, let me see. I got to read that part about him, about the prophesied one, because my mouth dropped on who he is. And then I begin to understand why they may say the one who translated these sealed plates for this time in our generation to be released. I want to talk a little bit about him first. His name is, forgive my tongue, y'all, because I'm not the best when it comes to announce certain words. It says his name is Mauricio Berger. Now I do know he's somewhere in South America, which is Brazil. And he is excommunicated from the Church of Mormon. And that should tell you a lot. Okay. Now, what I did find about his life, I put the website link of a person who got a little bit about his life and his testimony and how he came to these seals books. Okay. Now, his native language is Portuguese, but through the Holy Spirit, because I'm telling y'all, if y'all ever see the baptism of the Holy Spirit, I'm telling you, through the Holy Spirit, it giving him the gift to translate it in English. This is not his native tongue. So what I'm about to read unto you, let me see, can I find it? It really matches up to him. Okay. And I know what it was told to Joseph that it would be someone of his lineage, but it's two parts to that. Okay. And I got to find that other part. Let me see. I'm going to read this paragraph dealing with the testimony of the three witnesses. We know, therefore, that the transliteration would take place in two time periods. The first part that belongs to Mauricio Berger, that's the second part, y'all. Okay? That's the second part. With the intention of calling his people again to repentance. Upon completion of the transliteration, we understand that would be fulfilled what is written in 2 Nephi chapter 30, verse 3 of the Latter-day Saints book, y'all, or 2 Nephi chapter 12, verse 80 of the RLDS, where it is clear this record will be sealed once again to the Lord in accordance with Ether chapter 4, verse 7 of the Latter-day Saints, or Ether chapter 1, verse 101 in RLDS, qualifying his people to receive the second part. Again, this is where we are at now. Okay? And and I do want to read this last part because many gonna come against his works now. What this man has done, they're gonna speak against it. Okay? Only thing I have to tell y'all gonna have to read this for yourself. That's why I put the audio so y'all can play it along to help y'all get through this book. Okay, because it really don't take long. I would say at the most 2 days. If you have free time, don't have anything planned, at the most 2 days, you can get through this book with the audio. Okay. But it's also written that in vain would be the one who stand up against the work of God. Okay. And you will see many gonna stand up against it because I'm telling y'all, it works against their doctrine. It works against what they've been taught. Because when you see how the church was supposed to actually be set up, how they practice in the same manner as the Essenes. Now, those who are familiar with the Essenes, because Josephus talk about them, that was the same manner that goes back to the order of Enoch. And then when he breaks down the other sacred things you're supposed to partake that leads to the high priesthood of Melchizedek, it remind me of what my family church did when I was growing up as a little girl. We partake in the washing of the feet, the drinking of the wine, and the eating of the leavened bread. I'm talking about they made it. See, I came back from a period of time where we kept those ancient sacred things before we had all these changes coming into church. You hear me? They may not understood who they were, but they partake in these sacred spiritual things, which now when you read the Book of Mormon, it gives you understand it goes back to the order of Melchizedek. Okay, it goes back also to the order of Enoch, which is the church of the Messiah, which will bring us back to Zion. Zion. Okay. Let me see what else I can share with y'all, because like I said, it's a lot in this. So when I looked at him, I gotta look at the prophecies. Okay. I can't read all of them, but I'm gonna try to read the main highlight one. Okay, so let me go to the highlight one that I found that was new. Well, not new, but I haven't seen no one talk about this one. And I want to make sure I get all the pages. This is one of them. Give me 1 second. I gotta find my note. It was another one that I want to go to. Now, to read about him, you can find it in the words of Moroni, and it's in that chapter, because it's only one chapter, in verse 20, page 14. And we just read it in the preference in 1B. And here it go. This is one we need to take you to that talks about his speech. Okay. It's in the book of the Nephites, the 3 Nephites, chapter 7, verse 4, page 121. Bear with me, y'all. Thank you, Father, that I took notes, because this would have been a too long a video to go into. Here we go. Also, to read more about him too, the prophesied one, that would be like Moses, and then he would have a speaker that would be given to him that will be from the lineage of Joseph. Okay. And I'm glad that the Father had this book to be open, because now we can also see of the road that the house of Israel or the house of Ephraim will take place. So it's a beautiful thing to see. Okay. And you can also, like I said, you can also find more information about this prophesied one in chapter 10 to chapter 12 in the first part. Let me see what book you have to go into. It's in the sealed book of Moses, I believe, chapter 10 to chapter 12. Okay. But now I'm going to read from the book of the 3 Nephites, and we're starting with chapter 7, verse 4. Okay. For it goes on to say, therefore, it must be fulfilled in this, that Isaiah words concerning him who, with stuttering lips and by another tongue, will speak to this people, just as it was prophesied by Joseph in Egypt concerning him whom the Lord will call to write these words, but that he would not be able to speak to these people because of his dialect. Now, his dialect is Portuguese. But the Lord was summoned to minister with him a spokesman from the loins of Joseph. So this spokesman will be from the loins of Joseph. Okay. According to the promises made to our ancestors in relation to the chosen seed in the last days. Okay. And I will pause on that part. Now let us go to chapter 14, and we're going to look at, I'm trying to get my pages together, y'all, because I have to be organized. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to put that here. So now we're going to chapter 14. Chapter 14, and we're going to look at verse 36. I had to start reading from verse 36 down to 38. Okay. And it came to pass that the Lord of the vineyard saith unto his servant, let us go down into the lower parts of the vineyard to see whether the natural branches also produce forth evil fruit. And it came to pass that they saw that the fruits of the natural branches were corrupted, also because of the abominable church. Now, I do need to elaborate on that. The abominable church that he's talking about, when we came over in this promised land, all these churches, even before the Europeans came over here, all these churches that was established over here later on became abominable because of the precepts of men, because of their false doctrines. Okay? So that's what he's talking about. We read that part again. That the fruits of the natural branches were corrupted, also because of the abominable church, which we know goes back to the Roman church. Yea, the first and the second, and also the last, and all the churches that have tried to bring forth good fruit have been corrupted. See, they started out with good intentions, but they became corrupted. Okay? But behold, the Lord of the vineyard then said to his servant, this is the fulfillment of the vision of Nephi concerning that man whom he saw that was separate from the seed of his brethren by the many waters. And I saw that the Spirit of God came down and inspired that man. And as the man went through the many waters, he came to the seed of his brethren, which was in the land of the promise. Now, the land of the promise is dealing with the Americas. You know, you got Canada, North America, South America, Mexico, and their islands. Now, I do need to intercede with this, and I will say this again in this video as we proceed further. It breaks my heart that those who have read the second book and that have presented to the public has misinterpreted or have misled the people that this land over here is Israel. If I got it right. Do I have it right or do I have it wrong, y'all? It breaks my heart because when you read this sealed book and it starts with Mormon speaking, you will learn that he was actually in the land of Jerusalem in the days of Josiah. And it was the father and it was the father who led him to gather these sacred books, such as the book of Moses and the other sacred books, to bring them over to the promised land, which is America, North America, South America, that whole landmass. And when you read it, you will learn that this promised land is Osiris that the high priest Ezra talked about. Okay. It is not the land of Israel. In other words, it's not the land that my people conquered from the Canaanites. It's a separate thing, which I'm going to have to give you the scripture in Torah. And it was the brothers who pointed this out. They was known as Genesis 49ers. Like I say, I met many people along the way. And some of them have some of the truth, but then when they neglect the other part, I'm like, how can you come so far in the truth, but be so far from the Father in His Word? Like I said, but anyway, they pointed this out in the book of Deuteronomy. Like I said, it's many prophecies in the book of Genesis that now we'll begin to understand what they mean. Some of them have came to their fullness, and some have not. Okay, but if you go to the book of Deuteronomy, and you look at chapter 33. And this is dealing with the prophecy that will fall upon the lineage of Joseph. Chapter 33, verse 13. And of Joseph he said, blessed of Yahuwah be his land, for the precious things of heaven, for the dew and for the deep that croucheth beneath, and for the precious fruit brought forth by the sun, for the precious things put forth by the moon, and for the chief things of ancient mountains, and for the precious things of lasting hills, and for the precious things of the earth, and fullness thereof, for the goodwill of him that dwelt in the bush. Let the blessing come upon the head of Joseph, and upon the top of the head of him that was separate from his brethren. His glory is like the firstlings of his bullock, and his horns are like the horns of unicorns. With them he shall push the people together to the ends of the earth. And they are 10,000 of Ephraim, and they are the thousands of Manasseh. So the verse 17, you want to highlight that he shall what? Push his people to the ends of the earth. Where the end at? Over here. See? That's why I just shake my head, because I'm like, the Father now is opening up these sacred books where we can get understanding there, clarification. But yet to this day, people are twisting his word and not giving you the truth. So this is why I'm telling you, don't just take my word for it. Go read it and listen and hear for yourself, because this started in the days of King Josiah, when he found them ancient books, and when he heard what was going to come to Yahushua being destroyed. Y'all, this book go deep. It explains everything and why his people had to come over here to the promised land. Why he brought the lineage of Lehi, Nephi over here. Why he had them to get those sealed books, like such as Moses and the other books that was in the land of Israel. Why he had them to bring them over here, because there was an appointed time for all these things to come forth. Because again, the people weren't ready. Even this is dealing with the Gentiles. The Gentiles had to repent of their iniquities, because these things were too hard for them to understand. But now we into the fullness of the times of the Gentile, as prophesied by the Messiah. Go to Luke chapter 21. I got to go there right quick, y'all. Woo! And then we'll keep reading further about this prophesied one. Luke chapter 21. So Luke chapter 21, we're looking at, I got the right one? It might be 17, y'all. Let me make sure. That's 22. That's why I'm looking at the wrong thing. Okay, Luke chapter 21. This is what the Messiah said. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and they shall be led away captive into all nations, and Yahushua shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentile be fulfilled. Well, y'all read the sealed book of Mormon, you will find out what that means. Not only them just ruling over us, they too had to repent of their iniquities, and he too had to get them to a state where they can receive this word. Because these things are hard for them to understand. See, the Father knew what he was doing. Also, the book revealed, and I get back to the other part, y'all. Just give me one thing, because as the Father bringing stuff to my mind, do y'all not know that the Father had a great plan with every captivity that his people went into? It was dealing with the grafting of the wild branches of the olive tree to the natural olive tree. See, the Father knew what he was doing. And it also deal with his plan, you know, when he talking about the vineyard and how this grafting would take place between the Jews and the Gentiles, but also do dispersing us through the four corners of the earth, we was able to enlighten the Gentiles with the sacred knowledge of the Most High Yah, dealing with the learning of the heavens, looking at the signs. One of the things that this book elaborate on is dealing with the sign or the star of the coming of the Messiah. And it was the Jews who he has dispersed, in those lands of their captivity. And through them, that's what I'm about to look for. Give me a second, y'all. Through them, they was able to reach the Jews in Jerusalem, who was of the sect of the Pharisees. See, they took to their own kind, even though they were dispersed. Okay, so the Father did a great thing. I mean, y'all, our Father in heaven, he plans things out so well. I mean, he knows what he doing. It's a reason for why everything happened. And sometimes when you think you know the answer why that happened, Father said, hold up, it's some more to this. It goes a little deeper. Let me give you the other part. I'm telling you, Father always keep us on our toes. Let me read this comment here. Yes, you're right. Okay, far as the whole world belonging to Israel in the end, Israel will be set in their proper place. They will no longer be last, they will be the first. But however, you got to look at the order of all things, not only in the earth, but the heavens. Remember, I told you about these groups. We have, think about in the heavens, we have the Father and Messiah and the angels. Then we have the bride and the 144 that would dwell with the Father and the Son. Even when heaven and earth joined together, they would dwell in the New Jerusalem with the Father and the Son. Then we have the nation of Israel and those strangers that shall sojourn with the nation of Israel. And then we have the other nations that will be given, what their lands and countries and what they should be. Okay. All right. Let us keep going. Let me get back to here. Oh, but going back to this thing about where Israel is, y'all, it just breaks my heart to see. I don't understand it, because when I read the book was very clear. It still made a distinction of how the lineage of Lehi, Nephi, Mormon, and Moroni had to cross great waters to come to the promised land. And the promised land is Osiris, okay, when you study the whole book. And then after the Messiah was crucified and resurrected, then he went to the other fold of the sheep that is written in John chapter 10. It also elaborates more about that part, how he went over there to minister unto them. Okay. But prior to that, as the Bible says, within the 400-year period, there was those that would see visions and dreams of him. Because when he was talking to Mormon and his son Moroni, he was dealing with them with just visions and dreams. Because this was in the days of King Josiah. So what I'm saying unto you, y'all need to read the book. Read the whole book. Because it breaks my heart to see that how can those who introduced these books to us come so far, but yet come so close to the sacred things of Yah, but be so far from him at the same time. That bothers me, y'all. That bothers my heart. I don't get it. Okay. And to give the doctrine that America, that Israel is in America, I'm like, how in the world did you get that? Because this sacred book here doesn't say that. It makes a distinction between these two lands or these two countries. Okay. Now let us keep going. It's another part I need to talk to y'all about, and it's dealing with Matthew chapter 19 on being a perfect servant, which relates to the order of Enoch, relates to the order of the church of the Messiah, and the Essenes gave a great example of that. And none of these assemblies today are doing it, because if they would do it, it would level the playing field for everyone. Okay. In other words, it would purge your heart, making you pure unto the Father. But none of these assemblies going to do it. It is reverse. It is top heavy. And I say top heavy. As written in, I think it's in Jeremiah chapter 30, they have caused these cows to become lean. And they are getting fat. And that's not how the church of the Messiah was supposed to be set. But let us keep going. Okay, I had stopped at, let me see. Okay, then with the promised land. So I'm going to pick this up. He came to the seed of his brethren, which was in the land of the promise. Just as he saw the Spirit of God inspire other Gentiles, which are branches of the wild olive tree, and therefore remnant of the house of Israel, they went forth out of the captivity and crossed over many waters and received the good land by inheritance. For they humbled themselves before the Lord, and the power of the Lord was with them. But these last graft branches, that is, Gentiles, brought to this land overseas, will also surmount the seed of Lehi and his brethren, and the branch of the seed of his brethren will dry up and die. And the Lord will cry for his loss, because all the fruit of his vineyard will perish except these. But now are also corrupted, and all the trees of his vineyard are of no avail except to be cut down and cast into the fire. But behold, the Lord of the vineyard cut off the trees that obstructed this piece of land and planted another tree in its place. So do you see how our Father works? And it relates to, I think it's John chapter 15 or 16, dealing with the vineyard, what he does. And this book again goes into deep explanation about the vineyard, about the olive tree and the grafting and what he does. And even yet, he's working harder now than ever before the end come to save those, Okay, but let us keep going. But behold, the Lord of the vineyard cut off the trees that obstructed this piece of land and planted another tree in his place, fulfilling the promise with which Joseph, the son of Jacob, had attained from God the Father, when he told him that he would raise from his loins a fair branch to the house of Israel. And being righteous, though he is a Gentile, will be counted as being part of the natural olive tree. For he will be truly a descendant of Joseph, not the Messiah, but that graft of which Lehi prophesies, which is to come in the fullness of the Gentiles in the last days, when your descendants have degenerated, fallen into unbelief, yea, for the space of many years. Do y'all hear that? There's a lot of years passing. And for many generations, after the Messiah manifests himself in person to the children of men, then the fullness of my gospel shall come to the Gentiles, and we can see that happening even to this day, and of the Gentiles to the remnant of your descendants. Now I'm going to have to pause here for a second, because we got one more. We have another paragraph to read about this one that was prophesied unto Joseph. Okay. Now, looking at this paragraph here, I want to go back. Notice through the house of Israel, which is the northern kingdom, he will also establish his church through that side, through Joseph. This is what he's talking about, from his loin, a fair branch to the house of Israel. Okay. And through this grafting process, there will be a man who is grafted into that church of Joseph. Okay. That was prophesied many, many years ago. Okay. And this is in the time when the fullness of the Gentiles, this is when the Gentiles have received the gospel. Okay. Now, many years going to pass. I want to let you know what kind of year we're in. So far of the calculation, what the Most High Yah has given unto me, we are in the 7,487 year. When Tishri or Attn come up, we'll be in the 7,488. Now, again, based on what I have so far, I have the Messiah was crucified and resurrected in the year of 32 AD. So when you look at the time frame that we're in now, we're in the year of what, 2020 AD to 32. So it's about close to 2,000 years have passed. Right? So it does match up to what this verse is saying here, that what a space of many years and for many generations after the Messiah has manifested himself in person, that means he fulfilled that part of coming in the flesh and blood of as a descendant of David, and and fulfilling what the gospel and the prophets have said about him. So much time is going to pass. So we can see that lining up with this. And then it goes on to say, then the fullness of my gospel shall come to the Gentiles, which it has. Okay. And also to the remnant of the house of Joseph, or the house of Israel. We can see that too is happening. All right. And this is how he would be, and this was how he would qualify as a descendant of Joseph through the grafting process. Okay. Because I'm going to read this part again. A fair branch to the house of Israel, and being righteous, though he is Gentile, will be counted as being part of the natural olive tree, for he will be truly a descendant of Joseph. Now, he won't be the Messiah, okay? That's making it clear. But that graft of which Lehi prophesies, which is to come in the fullness of the Gentiles in the last days. Now we read 39. And we are in, let's see what chapter we're in. I put my note at. I believe it's chapter 14. 39. Yea, to bring the Gentiles out of darkness, which shall be upon the earth in those days. Nevertheless, this graft will be a seer. That's another characteristic of him. This graft will be a seer who will guide my people again to the path of light. Okay? And I'll pause there. So that's one of the things about him on that part. So what you're going to have to do, whether you agree with me or not, like I said, we're not going to argue or fuss about this. But to understand who that one that was prophesied even to the days of Joseph, you're going to have to go through the whole book and write out these characteristics about him. So one, we know that he is a seer. And it does say that he would be like a Moses, okay? But he would not speak very well. And he would be given a spokesman, as an Aaron. He would give him a spokesman, someone that would be just like Aaron, okay? Now, this don't have anything to do with no reincarnation, y'all. Please. But the book makes that clear. It has nothing to do with reincarnation. It's just giving you an idea of who this person will remind you of, okay? And what else he said? That he would be of the lineage of Joseph. And in this paragraph, it breaks it down how he is the lineage of Joseph, because it's dealing with the grafting process for that one that would be like Moses. However, the one that would be like Aaron, the spokesman, he will be of the lineage of Joseph's seed. Okay. Again, you don't have to agree with me or disagree with me. Like I said, we'll just come into these books. Now, if you have new information, that will show us who else it can be, just email me at followingthemessiah378 at gmail.com. Again, I'm just going into this book amazed at the information, because the book made this clear, and it reinforced a lot of things of what the Spirit taught unto me. These things are not written in order. The book make that very clear. It's not written in order. It's like pieces to the puzzle, a part here and a part there. You have to put everything together. And that was the same thing what the Spirit taught me about the Bible. It's like a conversation. You jump from one subject to another subject, and you come back to the other subject you was talking about. So it's a part here, part there. You got to put it all together. And only through the Spirit, y'all, can help you see the bigger picture. The next thing is, it amazed me how the church was supposed to be set up. Remember, I said it goes back to the days of the son of Adam. But because of the people's heart and their unbelief and their unfaithfulness, this is why this information was kept sealed for its appointed time. But what also amazed me, that we had certain groups like the Essenes who also practiced the order of this. You know, that just amazed me. Also, when I look at my original seminary that I came from, y'all, we partake in these sacred things. Like I said, the washing of the feet, the eating of the bread, the drinking of the wine, the water baptism, all these sacred things. And this book here not only confirmed what the Spirit was teaching me about the status of Adam, about the rebirth, but it also give us the new information. What's the word I'm looking for? It give us the other things that were kept from us, that our ancestors and even the people of this day are not ready to receive. All right. So what the Father's doing now, He is preparing us for the ones who truly desire to worship Him according to His instructions. And through His instruction, it shall give you life. And it shall what? Purify your heart. Because when you learn how Satan operates, when you see how he operates, then you are going to understand how to fight against him, to keep him from contaminating your heart. And unfortunately, when you read this book, it's going to elaborate about the vineyard and the grafting process. And it's going to be many branches that will be burned because they bear bitter fruit. And thank you, Father, for reminding this. And I will close this out with this last part. The bitterness. Remember I told you about the captivity. It was a reason, it was a deeper reason why he scattered the Jews among the Gentiles through captivity. And we know why, because of their disobedience. However, it was another part to it. And the same thing has happened today. In the book of Moroni, or it's one of these sacred books in this book, in the sealed book of Mormon, it elaborates about this bitterness. It was the same as our ancestors who came out of Egypt. They was bitter in the heart. And because they were bitter in the heart, this is one of the reasons why it kept them from receiving the greater priesthood, which is the priesthood of the Melchizedek. Okay? Because they were bitter. And just like today, I look at my brothers and I can see the bitter in their heart. They are so bitter because of the captivity that we are in, that it made them blind to the mysteries of God. It made them not able to go to the higher level, not be able to graduate because of this bitterness. And now I begin to understand why the Bible says, be slow to anger, because when you allow anger to come in, that's how Satan can come in and manipulate your heart and harden it and make it bitter. So when you read that part in the book, when it talks about this bitterness that the Israelite had when they came out of Egypt, it cost them. It cost them, y'all. They could have learned the way of the order of Enoch. They could have received the priesthood of Melchizedek, but because their heart was so bitter because of the captivity they came out of, they couldn't. Because of that, they was only given the lesser priesthood, and that generation ended up dying out because the Father said, I will start anew with another generation, hoping they can graduate to the level where I need them to be. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and end this video because, like I said, a lot more going to have to come out since we're reading this book, and that's my other book, and reading the book of the Beloved Companion. Okay, this is the Complete Gospel of Mary Magdalene, because now I understand what the Father's doing. He is preparing those to receive the greater blessing. Now, for those who don't receive it, they're going to have to go through some things through this trial and tribulation that's going to come through the last wicked one, the last one that's supposed to reign upon the whole world. But through that, it's going to what? Purge them. Okay. And this time when he gathered them and bring them to the wilderness, I pray that they will listen. But the word is the word. And he said he's going to purge out the rebels. And only a remnant is going to make it in. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Father, for remembering that. And there is another gathering that will happen when the Gentiles will bring his people to the land. So like I said, it's different gatherings. However, with the Book of Mormon, what we need to focus on, becoming that church that the Messiah wants us to be, and to practice that order of Enoch, okay? To become perfect, that's written in Matthew chapter 19. Because like I said, when we read a book, it will expound on how to become perfect. And when you do that, it's going to perfect your heart. And it's going to bring a great delight to the Most High Yah. All right. I said enough, y'all. All right. Continue to preach that the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Make sure the people receive salvation as written in Romans chapter 10, and baptize them in the name of Yahusha HaMashyach. For the Lamb set the example of the water baptism and the Holy Spirit baptism. And also through that book, it talks about that too. It gives you understanding about the calling and those who can do the Holy Spirit baptism. Like I said, that book goes deep. It'll put away a lot of false doctrines. All right. I love y'all all. And this is what I'm supposed to do. I knew I was forgetting something. On that website dealing with Mauricio, this is what he do say. It was something that he said here. Oh, let's see here. Okay. Dealing with the churches. Well, actually, not only dealing with the churches today, even with the one that he came out of. This is what he says. Make sure I'm reading at the right part. Mauricio talks of pride. That's stumbling block for all. And he says the different church leaders must put off that pride. They must attain the humility to admit to mistakes, errors, and sin. They must become who they say they are, the predecessors to the return of the Messiah, by redeeming the land of Zion. In 2010, Mauricio said 7 years would have to pass before any of them could see clearly with spiritual eyes, which at that time were blindfolded. The literal fulfillment of 2 Nephi, verse 24 through 30 of the LDS, and 2 Nephi, chapter 12, verse 30 through 38 of the RLDS was happening. We must be careful of believing all is well in Zion. And I end with that. So even too, he's warning the churches of today because we know where pride comes from. It comes from Satan. He is the principality of death, destruction. He is that one who is the spirit of pride as well. Okay? We must humble ourselves and understand we will not know it all. And the Father made it clear that the mysteries of that his mysteries will not be revealed until the Messiah can come to the earth for a church that is ready to receive him, that are pure in heart. All right. Shalom.